What's up, party people? Welcome to Geared Up. It's our weekly live broadcast where we talk about all things lighting, from breakdowns to gear to showing you how to do things. We just have fun talking about light, taking your questions. So please add some in the comments if you have anything to ask. Today, we're going to be talking about how to make 3 really dramatic images with this thing right here, Spot Small. I know along with many other people, have been waiting a long time for this thing to come back. It's back. It's a really high quality product, really beautiful optics out of it. But today we're going to be taking 3 dramatic images using that. First and foremost, let's talk about what makes an image dramatic versus natural feeling. It really just comes down to contrast. The more contrast that you have in the image, the more dramatic it generally feels, or the more shadows that are in an image, the more dramatic it generally feels. So today we're going to be kind of dark and moody-ish with our setup, but we want to juxtapose it with the feeling of like vacation vibes. Like, I mean, we're going out of town in a few weeks and we're kind of stoked about it. So we're going to take the idea of something that feels light and airy, but we're going to add a dramatic kind of spin onto it and kind of have fun interpreting the idea of something with vacation vibes, but using a lot of drama. And we're going to be doing it with the Spot Small, and we're going to be doing it with all of the ways that you can modify the Spot Small. So let's talk about that real fast. So first and foremost, built into the unit, you have these cutters. So we'll be using the cutters to cut and shape light, and I'll explain kind of the inspiration behind all the images as we're making them. But we're going to be using the cutters for one. For another, we're going to be using the Gobo holder with like a fun like palm foliage Gobo inside of it. We don't sell Gobos. These are from Roscoe. The nice thing about it is you can just kind of pick and choose what you want, but the Gobo holder does come with the unit. So you get the Gobo holder and then you get to choose whatever Gobos you want. The Roscoe makes the best. So we're going to be using Clic gels. So if you missed the actual introduction video, the nice thing about the front of the Fresnel Small is the Clic gels go right onto the front of it. So we'll be using a lot of gels today. And then for our final image that we're going to be using, we'll be using the iris. So again, another light shaping tool that comes with the Spot Small, and we'll be using all 3 of these to show you how we can make some cool images. That being said, I'm not going to keep beating on that drum. Let's take some photos. So the first image that we're going to be doing is using the cutters. So let's talk light shapers first. So you kind of know what we're going to be working with a lot of this stuff. So we want drama. That's what we're going for, but I don't want to lose the detail in the shadows. So we're going to be lifting up the shadows with the 4-foot Octa. You can probably barely see it in the corner of the wide shot. This is the OCF, or not the OCF, what am I talking about? This is the new Softbox is that the white interior? What does the side of it say? I just want to make sure I'm telling everybody that what we're using properly. It is the silver interior. So it's a silver interior Softbox 4-foot Octa, and that's going to be gelled for every single image. We're gelling it by putting the OCF2 gel and gel holder inside of it with the gel. So that's in there on a D30. So that's going to be our fill light for everything that we're filling. And then for the Spot Small, we have it on a Pro D3 1250. I'm going to be moving a lot back and forth. I'll be at F4 on my camera settings, so I wanted a little bit more juice just because we work in some big spaces, and the Spot Small can eat a little bit of light, and because we're going to be using gels, also can eat a little bit of light. So I'm using a little bit heavier powered light for that, but you can adjust your camera settings for such. But yeah, Pro D3, Spot Small, Clic gels, Gobos, irises, Softbox. Let's get to work. Cool. So the first shot reminds me of like walking through old San Juan. The thought behind this is kind of going through town and getting like this just kind of walking through like a doorway where the sun is, you know, low in the sky, and you're just getting this super sharp line right through, and it's opening up. Yeah, as you walk through the opening, you kind of walk through this sliver of light. We're gonna be gelling, well, we already have it gelled for this shot. So the Softboxes is gelled with a full CTO. So that's gonna give us a really nice warm fill light, but we're gonna keep it relatively low again to keep the drama up. And then on the Spot Small, we're actually using a half CTO Clic gel to, again, keep the light warm. I know you can kind of see the shot that we've already taken in some of our tests right there, but we'll play around with it and show you kind of how we came up with all this stuff and explain it. So also I'm gonna have to pull the studio lights down, so it's gonna get a little moody in here. So we'll see how well this works out for everything. If it doesn't, we'll adjust. We're good at adjusting. Even if I have to like pull these lights back a little bit, let's see there. See how weird it gets super dark. You can still kind of see some stuff.
Yeah. You can see the sliver of light.
You can see the sliver of light. So perfect. So with that, we're showing you this. So we're using the cutters here on the Spot Small, and you can actually see as we open the light up and close it down. We're using the cutters just to make like this sliver of light with the doorway. I'm angling it a little bit to kind of just represent the idea that the sun would be low coming through. So what that's gonna do is it's not gonna give you any stark straight lines. It's gonna kind of be more of a, it's gonna kind of throw the light really long. So let's get that right there. And then for the softbox, you know, we just have a 4-foot Octa backed up quite a bit. So what this is gonna do for us is give us a pretty broad fill, allowing, you know, the light to fall off on Kate in the background relatively evenly.
Gel in there as well.
Oh, yeah. This full CTO gel on the fill, half CTO on the Spot Small. And I'm actually gonna show you what it would look like without the CTO. So when we were initially playing with it, we were going with no CTO. So let's get in here with the shot. So camera settings wise, we're talking about ISO 100, 125th of a second, and f4 is what we're shooting at today. So with no gel on it, it's a nice shot, but to kind of tell the show, here we go, 3, 2, 1. It's a lovely shot with no gel. Hold on a second, there we go. So it's a lovely shot with no gel, okay? The thing is, if you're trying to, this is kind of the cool thing about lighting and understanding what light's doing. If you're paying attention to where the sun would be when it's throwing long shadows, it would be lower in the sky, especially to kind of get this effect on your subject. And because of that, it being lower in the sky, it's also gonna warm itself up. So that looks nice, but that doesn't necessarily look the way that it should for that scenario. So by going as simple as throwing on a half CTO, what we've done now, here we go, 3, 2, 1, is we've warmed the image up just a little bit more. And that feels a lot more like what you would get from that long light coming through an alleyway or a doorway. So you get like this overall warmth from a setting sun, but you're getting the directness of, you know, getting hit by the actual sun rays as you walk through said doorway or a window or something like that. So something really, really nice. It's still ultra dramatic. It's dark, it's moody, but it still kind of has that, that summer vibe to it, that warmth that you would expect from something like that. Something I really, really like. So I think the image is very, very cool. And it's simply done with gels, a fill light, and the cutters built into the Spot Small. So let me turn this light back on for a second while we move some stuff around. And let's talk about the next shot. So the next shot that I want to do, I'm not going to turn them all back on, but at least you're not talking to somebody in the dark. The next shot that we're going to do is going to be inspired by sunshine coming through some foliage, that dappled light looks, palm trees. But what we're not going to do is actually put the palm fronds from the Gobos in focus, because I don't necessarily want them to be like super crisp. I think, and I'll show you both with making them really, really crisp and then defocusing them a little bit, why that makes a little more sense to me, at least visually. This time when it comes to gelling stuff, We're gonna stay warm on the gel, on the Spot Small, but what we're gonna do here, just to kind of give it some more of that feel of green, we're going to put a green gel inside of this softbox. So we've got our OCF2 CTO coming off. We have jade green going on. So here we go, jade green, you can see right there. Perfect. Let's close this.
Was I wearing your hat for this one?
I believe you were. Yes, you were. I actually think you were hatted in all of our
Oh, you might be right.
photos.
We were going back and forth.
Yeah, we were going back and forth. So with this now, we're going to be broadcasting a green tone overall, but the orange that's coming directly from the Spot Small will give us kind of this really cool, again, like light coming through some foliage, and then the foliage giving it a little bit of that green cast. Really, really nice stuff. So we're gonna open the cutters all the way up because we want the full circle of the Spot Small. So let me actually turn this light back off. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. Only time will tell. You can see a little bit more of the circle. Perfect. You know what, let's, just for funsies, I don't know if, see if this works. I don't know if what I'm doing is helping, but it might get grainy, but I'm gonna bump the ISO up big time on the wide shot so you can kind of see what we're working with in the dark here. So you can see the overall green cast now coming through the shot. Really, really cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the gobo with the foliage. We're gonna pop it in. So right now, it's relatively sharp, but let's sharpen it up. There we go. Whatever we do, Kate, I wanna try to make sure we keep your...
I'm doing my best.
Yeah, I'm gonna lift it a little bit. I'm gonna lift it a little bit to give you... That's kind of it right there, I think. It definitely is a little wobbly, so it's hard to, there we go. It's heavy. Perfect. So if we go the route here with kind of the foliage in focus, while it looks cool, it's a little distracting in here. We'll take the photo so you can see what we're talking about here. So 3, 2, 1. So by having the gobo be super duper in focus, it's cool looking, but it's a little distracting. You start to kind of lose some of what you see with Kate, and I don't necessarily want that. So I want the focus to be on Kate, and when it's really, really in focus like this, honestly, the focus goes to the gobo. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna defocus it a little bit. And this will kind of give it more of a dappled light feel. I'm actually gonna turn the gobos also to give it more of that up and down vibe. There we go. But I think defocusing it's gonna, again, put the focus where we want, which is on Kate, and not on the gobos themselves. Here we go. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. And then that's a really beautiful image. Again, you'll see it pop up here in just a second. I saw it on the back of my camera. That's why I'm yucking about it. There we go. So that's a really beautiful image. So you still have the fronds, and we could play with that focus back and forth to get what we decide we like. But that's gonna allow a little bit more light on Kate. It's gonna feather out a little bit nicer. The focus stays on her and not so much on the pattern being broadcast by the gobo itself. So again, really dramatic, really beautiful. The contrast is really high. You can play with the placement of the actual fronds themselves.
I like how that opened up right there in the middle of the...
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And a lot of that opening up is going to happen from, sorry, I moved the cutter into place. A lot of that opening up is going to happen just because we defocus a little bit. So you have a little bit more of a feathered edge. So let's go like right there. Let's just see how we are. 3, 2, 1. That's, I mean, there's a little bit over the eye, but still very, very lovely. And so that's, again, something simple that you can do. We have, again, that green cast, and we could play with it some more. Like we could take the light, maybe if we don't want it to have so much of her shadow in the background, maybe we want it to fill a little bit more with the gobo, we can kind of shoot it off to the side here and try to get rid of some of it. Let's see what happens. Let's just play with it. I could be wrong, and maybe I messed this whole thing up, but that's the beauty of having fun with this stuff. Just want to make sure that my gobo is, there we go. Now my gobo is all the way in place. I just want a little bit, and the reason, I'll say this too, and the reason that I'm trying this also, and it might not be so much to do with the shadow, is I want a little bit of it to be behind her for a hair of separation. So let's see how this changes a little bit. I think this is gonna be nice. 3, 2, 1. I like that. I need to pull the power back a little bit, obviously, because I got closer. Let's make that adjustment real quick. And then we will let it rip. I think maybe it's because I came closer, it's a little bit too in focus. So let's defocus it a hair more. All right, let's see here. And then I'm gonna bring it back this way a little bit so we don't lose. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And I want to make one more tiny adjustment before we move on to the next shot. So I just want to drop this down a hair. There we go. Just got a little more even coverage. Maybe this is what I want, maybe it doesn't. It's all trial and error. Yeah, this actually kind of covered you up too much. And then the next shot that we have coming up right after this one is kind of cool. It's very different. It's a very different approach on kind of that vacation vibe. And I'm pretty stoked to show you guys here in a second. Let's try this one. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And that looks lovely. Absolutely lovely. I would probably adjust it just a hair more to get rid of the circle behind her, but honestly, it doesn't bother me that much. It's a really beautiful image. Again, has that dappled light feel, a little bit of foliage. So let's turn this thing back on for a second. Even though I bumped the ISO way up on that camera, so it's probably gonna be like blazing hot. Yep, I'm gonna turn that off. Yep, I'm gonna turn that one off. I'm gonna turn that one off. So what we're gonna do for the third shot is we're going to change this gel out again, this time to blue. So the idea behind this shot is we're gonna take the Spot Small and we're gonna flip it around. So we're actually gonna project it into a translucent reflector, so a big translucent reflector, so that'll be the background. The idea behind that is to make the Spot Small feel like the moon. I mean, granted, it's an artistic interpretation of it. It's not gonna look exactly like it, but then to have the blue light that you would get from a late evening, twilight, stuff like that. So that's kind of what we're going for with this shot. And again, ultra dramatic. This will be a really deep image as far as like the actual, the shadows. And we'll play with the fill based on what we're looking for. Again, we're just changing out from the jade green OCF2 gel to the just the straight blue OCF2 gel. The way that I have this set up, and before we log off this thing, I'll show you how I have the gel holder set up inside the softbox so you understand kind of what we're doing. So perfect. So we got our twilight blue. And then for the actual Spot Small, we're not gonna gel it at all because looking at the moon outside, it's generally bright white in the later evening. Cool, and I'm probably gonna have to change where I have this D3 plugged in. Because I believe, am I gonna run out of cable?
You're okay. We did it before.
Yeah, we're just gonna hope and pray that I'm just gonna lock the wheels down so it doesn't pull it. Perfect. So, and then I need to actually change lenses because we're gonna be pretty close to Kate on this one. So let's go to my 85 or my 80 on the GFX, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, works out to about a 56, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably mistaken, but that's okay. See, neither here nor there. So we're gonna raise that up just a little bit more. We're gonna back this up. And so what we're gonna use for this is the iris. And what the iris is gonna allow us to do is it's going to allow us to vary up the size of the quote unquote moonlight on the back of the screen. Let's go here. Everything looks all cool now. There we go. So we have this. We're just using a grip arm, and I'm going to use an alligator clamp on the background, just so you can kind of see how it, and it just kind of floats over. I could go crazy and use like a,
if you needed a bigger one, you could use like a...
Yeah. So you can see how we're now projecting the circle, and granted, I'll get rid of the gobo here in just a second. So you can, so the gobo's gone. And then now let's talk about the iris. Cool. So the iris now is going to allow us to obviously not push the cutter down, because that's not what we want. But you can see just quickly, the iris is going to allow us to change the size of that moonlight, which we will be doing for the shot. So let's get you in here real fast. I just want to get everything framed up because I know I have to make an adjustment on this background.
Okay. Oh yeah, what am I doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Weirdo.
Here I am. Welcome back.
Welcome. I'm gonna back my camera up just a skosh. And granted, I don't necessarily care that the framing of the background is in this, but I do need to make a couple of quick adjustments. Let's see. So I'm gonna come this way a little bit with it. Let's see how we're looking in the camera. I'm good with that. Come this way a touch, Kate, and then I'm going to adjust my camera. I'm actually going to back up a little bit more because I want to try to get, even though I just want to make sure I get the whole quote unquote moonlight in there. Perfect. And then for the sake of things like the edges, I'll just Photoshop that stuff out. Y'all know how that is. So we can play with the size of the moonlight there, and then what we can do is we can take the projector and we can focus that up. So that's what I want to do. I want the edges of the moonlight to actually be pretty crispy, like that. So really, really nice. And then we can play with it from there. So here we go. Let's make sure we're flashing. I think B probably doesn't need to be at 10. Let's take it down to 9. So let's see what we're looking like. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the moon's coming through nice and full. I'm gonna have to bring up that fill light. Apparently I have a warning from Capture One that there's an update, so not worried about that right now. Perfect. So it's a little darker than I want it to be, so we'll simply push the power up. So let's take that up to about, let's go up to a 7 just to see how that feels. We might pull it back a little bit. This is 2 stops up from where it was. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And that's looking kind of cool. I might actually bring that up just a hair more. But I like what we're working with. So like, let's just go in and play with a crop too, just to kind of get rid of some of that extra space. And it's kind of neat. So it's got like this cool moonlight vibe to it. I'll probably play with it a little bit more. But again, really, really dramatic. A lot of depth in the shadows, but we didn't lose any information because we were using a nice fill light. So we went with blue again because when you're like if you're shooting in the evening, the light that's cast by the earth and the moon and stuff like that is a relatively cool light. So that's why we stuck with blue there. So let's Let's play with the iris a little bit more and see. I just want to see what happens. Open it up just a little bit more. Focus it out. There we go. See what we're looking like in the frame. Lovely. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Really cool. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Turn this way. Yeah, you know what? Go that way and then kind of like a look back over the shoulder. 3, 2, 1. And go kind of back towards us a little bit more and look back. Yeah, there we go. 3, 2, 1. And so again, really, really cool stuff. So with that, let's see if we have any questions. So there's 3 pretty easy light setups. You want to switch that that tight cam real fast because this is going to be blazingly hot coming on that wide cam, Kate. Cool. So we have that set up. So again, really, really easy light setups that you can do. You know, I had this this big reflector that we used. You could easily do it with the sheet if you wanted to. I almost broke out one of my scrim silks for it, but I just didn't. I didn't want to be battling with a bunch of fabric while we were moving around. Cool. And so let's get back over here too, and we can look at these images. Let's get the lights cut back on, and let's get this ISO tamed on this camera a little bit. There we go. There we go. Now we're not blown out of proportion. So, looking at the first shot again, like we were showing. Can I borrow oh, you got it right there for me. Look at you. Look at you. So again, the nice thing about going this route is, and we can open up that crop a little bit to get more of that quote unquote moon in there. So it's got kind of like this really cool nighttime vibe. This is again an artistic interpretation of moonlight, but still I think it tells the story that you want to tell. Which I think this is a really, really fun setup. Again, blue gel to get that nice fill, but we just left the pure white light from the Spot Small shine through here and give us that moon. We could have, and in my experimenting, we could have flipped the Spot Small and shot it towards our white background, but the problem, 2 problems actually. The first problem was we needed more distance to get the size circle that we wanted, and we just, in our small studio space, we just don't have that. So instead we used the translucent reflector as the background, and we were able to get the distance we need to get the size circle we wanted. And 2, had we done it the way where it's behind Kate, you're walking the line of trying to hide a modifier behind somebody, and that can be difficult. So, and the Spot Small is not tiny. It's like this big laser gun looking thing. So that's why we chose to go this route for this twilight looking like moonlit image there, as opposed to going and just shooting into the gigantic white background that we have. Then going back up here to using the Gobo. So again, a really, really beautiful image here. It allows us to get a nice sparkle in the eye, that kind of that hard light. You see we got some sharp shadows from the size of that modifier. So again, it feels like a hard sunlight coming through some foliage. It looks really, really beautiful. The cool thing is too, some of that foliage has more of that yellow look. Some of it has a little bit of that green tinge to it. And then back here in the shadows, it's a little green also. Really, really nice. Again, using the Gobos and using the gels to tell the story of that beautiful light. And then for the first shot we're in here, where we just use the cutters of the actual Spot Small themselves, that allows us to go for this vibe that we wanted to achieve, where we were walking through maybe down a street or something like that, and we caught the sun coming through an alleyway or through a doorway or something like that. Something really, really warm, really inviting, but kind of interesting with the sharp lines from the Spot Small, from the cutters of the Spot Small, while at the same time keeping some of that warmth some of that glow that you would expect from something that feels a little more summer vibey. So again, 3 really dramatic light setups that I like a lot. I know Kate likes them a lot. They're pretty simple. 2 lights. Oh, you zoomed in big time on that face, bud. Here, let me have that. Let me fix that. That zoom in on you. There you go. That's yours now. So again, 3 images that we really like that both hit the mark for drama. So again, we're trying to increase the contrast of the image. That's generally what people perceive as drama. So add more shadows into the shot. We did that very successfully with the Spot Small. Also, while maintaining what I think we did a good job of maintaining the idea of keeping it kind of vacation, summer vibey. Again, just hitting all those points for us. Again, we use the gels, we use the Gobos, we use the cutters, we use the iris, all to tell this vacation story that we were on. So, did anyone have any questions about anything? It's pretty straightforward.
Welcome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Again, pretty straightforward stuff. Hopefully, you can use some of these light setups to do all this stuff. We're working in a space that for everyone who wants to know how big of a space you need for this, the camera generally tends to make things look bigger than they actually are. Our space is about 20 feet long by 14 wide, maybe 24 feet, 20 to 24 feet long.
How big is this?
By 14 wide. Yeah, so the background it's a 12-foot background, and we have about
13, 14.
Yeah, so we have about 2 more feet on the other side. So we're 14, 15 wide, 22 to 24 long, not a huge space, and then our ceilings are about 10 feet tall, which that's nice. Sometimes you don't always have that, but you can play within the constraints of that stuff. So, but 2 lights in this space, and we're able to achieve a lot of those looks, which is really fun. Again, with using the Spot Small, using all the accessories that it comes with, including a couple of additional cool things that you can get, like Clic modifiers for the front to use gels and to color the light. So hopefully, you learn some cool stuff. You can take those techniques into whatever it is that you're doing. If you have any questions, I know Kate just a second ago had my Instagram handle up there. That's the best way to get in touch with me. If you want to talk about light, if you want to see more geared up stuff, just let us know and we can yuck it up in the DMs. If there's anything that you want to see here that's demonstrated, we can bring it back here and have a good time. In the meantime, I hope you have an awesome rest of your week. Peace out, everybody. See you later.